The Mearsheimer and Watt book, the Israel Lobby. Last question.
Yeah,
Um, could you summarize your disagreements, where you part company with them, and where you connect?
I think it was a valuable book. There's a lot of evidence in it. One problem is they don't say what the Israel lobby is. I mean, does it include the Wall Street Journal, for example? I mean, the Wall Street Journal of all the newspapers in the country is the most extreme in support of Israeli policies. Are they part of the Israel lobby? Does it include the Lockheed Martin, for example, which loves military giving military aid to Israel for obvious reasons? Does it include, say, Intel, which is developing its biggest uh, plant in Israel because it's a favorable area for investment? Does it include the Republican Party, which is much more extreme in its support of Israel than the Democrats are? I mean, are they part of the lobby? Does it include the New York Times? Does it include the American intellectual community, who are, have a terrible record in justifying Israeli crimes? In fact, if you ask who it is, well, it turns out to be pretty much everyone who supports U.S. government policy, which happens to be very favorable to Israel. So, what exactly is the thesis? Uh, Apart from that, they're overlooking. I mean, they are what are called realists in international relations theory. Uh, Realist international relations theory regards states as the actors in international affairs, and they pursue something called the national interest, which is a sort of an objective reality that they pursue, and that includes security and so on. Well, that's just not the way international affairs work. You can go back to Adam Smith, who pointed out that policy in England is determined by the people who basically own the society, merchants and manufacturers in his day, and they make sure their interests are taken care of. They don't care what happens to others. That's a large part of what happens up till today. If you overlook the internal structure of a society and the distribution of power inside the society, you're not going to understand much about how foreign policy is made. It's obviously a factor. Well, take a look at lobbies in the United States. The Israel lobby is an influential, I mean, AIPAC, say, if that's what you mean, not the Wall Street Journal, not the Republican Party, but AIPAC. Uh, they're a powerful lobby. Are they the most powerful lobby? I mean, do they compare with the Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable, the military lobby? And, if the business lobbies wanted to put them out of business, they'd do it in 2 minutes. So the idea that the message from their book is, well, for them, the American national interest is harmed by support for Israel. Okay, I don't know what the national interest is. I mean, it's different for the CEO of Goldman Sachs and for somebody who cleans his floor. They have different interests, some in common, but not much. But let's imagine that there is a national interest and support for Israel is harming it the way they claim, whatever this means. That means they're harming the interests of the people who effectively own the society, the financial institutions. Wall Street Journal, of course, is the journal of the business classes, and so on. They're harming their interests. So if we want to change policy, there's a message. Let's put on our ties and jackets, go to the offices of the editorial office of the Wall Street Journal, Intel, Lockheed Martin, American Chamber of Commerce, and explain to them politely that support for Israel is harming their interests. Solve the problem. Does anybody try this? No, because it makes absolutely no sense. And for these people, U.S. support for Israel is perfectly consistent with their interests. In fact, they support it. So the lobby's there, undoubtedly, uh, and it's undoubtedly a factor in policy formation, mostly at the fringe. Actually, it's kind of interesting that one thing I didn't like about their book was that, especially their responses to criticisms later, is that there was pretty detailed analysis of how funding of Congress and the party's work by Stephen Zunis, a good American Middle East scholar. And he showed that, the effect of AIPAC on, say, congressional votes is pretty slight and on meaningful votes. Of course, they'll vote on symbolic things which have no consequences, but on real votes. And that, of course, the other major lobbies could wipe him out if they wanted to. Well, they barely mention him in their responses. And when they do, it's just a sort of a, a serious one-sentence misinterpretation of what he said. And what he said is important, and it reflects the way American politics really works. But if you want to be serious about this, you have to ask yourself, is the Wall Street Journal the main representative in the press of the Israel lobby? Is the Republican Party the center of the lobby? If so, what does that mean? Well, who do they represent? It's not a big secret. They represent the business community, the people with overwhelming power inside the country. So what's the national interest?